session, we're going to be sending you a survey. And it is super, super important for us to learn from this experience so that the HUG program can get better from your feedback. So please, please, please fill out the survey. It's only going to be 10 questions. And all of your feedback is really desired. So tell us everything. Okay. And then Jordan, you have the mic, and thank you so much for being here.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. I learned about HUG last week, and it's an amazing program, and I'm very happy to be here and teaching you. So today, my goal is that you all walk out of here knowing how to use Zoom, how to host a meeting, and how to use meeting controls in order to make your lessons with students just so much better, because there are a lot of things on Zoom that actually you wouldn't be able to even do in person that I'm going to show you what you could do today. So I also just want to let everyone know something a little bit about me. I started this program, my senior technology program, a few years ago, and I always have a passion for technology, and I've been teaching seniors how to use computers and smartphones. I teach a weekly class, and I was invited by Janine to give a Zoom tutorial today, and I'm very excited to be here. So like I said before, I hope that today's lesson, that you all will learn how to successfully join and host your own Zoom meeting, how to take advantage of Zoom's in-meeting controls, such as raising your hand, using breakout rooms, muting, unmuting, and having a close connection with your student in the actual room, and also learn how to use Zoom to benefit the learning experience of students specifically. Okay. So Zoom is getting really popular now. As you all know, Zoom is this now online system that everyone's using in order to see everyone without actually being with them. It's really kind of changing the world, and it's especially now when you really can't be with someone. So I just want to give a brief overview of what kind of Zoom is and what it can do. So Zoom is a free service at this point, meaning there are ways you could pay to get a premium subscription, but Zoom anyone can get. So all your students, if they don't have specific premium accounts, they will still be able to join your Zoom meetings without actually having a premium Zoom account. Now, the big difference between Zoom and other video chat is the number of possible participants. You could have many people on a Zoom meeting, versus when you're on like FaceTime or programs on your phone, it's better to stick with maybe 2 or 3 people. So there's a big difference that way. And also businesses, schools, organizations are all using Zoom currently to host meetings and to continue their education during this time. All right, so that's a brief overview about Zoom. And what I want to do now is I am going to open the Zoom website, which is zoom.us. You should write that down so you have that. Zoom.us. There's no .com, none of that, just zoom.us. And that is the Zoom website where you'll be able to adjust the settings and all of that. And I'm actually going to tell you today which of those settings, which things you actually have to play with, because there's a lot of them, and a lot of them are not relevant to you. So I'm going to show you exactly which ones that you should pay attention to. And I'm going to pull it up now so you can see I'm typing into my search bar zoom.us. And here's the Zoom homepage. It says Zoom at the top, and this is how you know that you're in Zoom. And the first thing you want to do is sign in. I'm not sure if Janine has given you guys your kind of login or passwords, or so not yet, but that's something that will be distributed at some point. So you want to start by clicking on sign in and typing in your information. Now, the reason why you have to do this at first is because you can't adjust your own settings until you're signed into your own account. You'll be adjusting settings on the default Zoom interface, and you don't want to do that. So you want to make sure before you do anything that you sign in, and you'll click on sign in at the top right, and then click on this blue button that says sign in after you type in your email address and password. And that is something that will be distributed to you at some point. And now you're going to be taken to this page, which is basically your account page. It's all the information about your own account. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is I'm going to kind of go down this list over here and only mention the things that I think are specifically relevant to you. So if you go to profile at the top, which is the first option here, you basically have all your information, which it will ask you the first time you sign into Zoom. It will say, what's your name, what's your title, all that, and you basically have to put it in. It's also nice if you have some sort of profile picture, so that when your video is off, like if I turn my video off right now, it has a nice picture of. I'm not sure how many of you could see that, but it's nice to have a picture, because when your video is off, it just says your name on a black screen. So it adds a little color when you have some sort of profile picture. That's always nice. And then all of this is basically put in for Zoom. For example, your personal meeting ID is a 10-digit code that Zoom made for you. And that's the ID that you could use to share in order to host your meetings. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. But the only thing on the profile page that I think is actually relevant to you is if you want to change your profile picture to make it just a little more colorful. So now we're going to go down to meetings, which is our second option. And this gets a little more important. And this is how you actually schedule and start a meeting. As you can see, I have one meeting here, right? It says Midland Senior Technology, and it says recurring. Now I want to mention that if you're planning on having a student, let's say every Monday, like a scheduled time slot, it doesn't make sense to create a new meeting every time you want to have a session. It makes sense to have one meeting and using the same link and the same information, so it doesn't get too confusing and you kind of stay consistent. So this meeting, Midland Senior Technology, I give classes almost every day in the week. It doesn't make sense for me to have 15 different Zoom numbers and everything. Everything's on one meeting ID, and it just makes it cleaner. And I'm going to show you kind of how to make it recurring so that you don't have to keep repeating it. So obviously the button you're going to click is schedule a new meeting. And once again, we clicked on meetings in the sidebar, and you're going to be in your meetings interface, and you're going to click on schedule a new meeting. Now it's important to make your topic specific, not just like hello or something like that, because it won't be as specific. So you either want to put maybe the student's name or maybe if there's a date range or a time that you always have, the students. So let's say I'm going to have, let's say Jared at 11 a.m. Let's say that that's the title of the meeting. Every Monday, whatever, I have Jared at 11 a.m. We could put Monday as well. And you're not going to put the date because we're going to have this repeat every single Monday. This description isn't relevant. You can go ahead and write a paragraph about Jared if you want. He won't see that, so there's no need to put anything in. And then here's the date, right? So when. So we said Monday, so I'm going to put, it's going to give you a calendar pop-up. I'm going to put Monday the 6th. And the time 11 a.m. See, it actually put 11 a.m. for me automatically because it saw that I put it into the title. It did it automatically for me. The duration, you could type in an hour. Now, usually if your lesson is planned to go for an hour, you should make it a little bit longer. So if it's an hour, I'm going to put in, let's say, an hour 15. So I have some leg room if you want to join a little bit early or stay a little bit late. So you have kind of a window there. Now, if you don't want to set a time, there's that button that I showed you before, which is the recurring meeting. And if you click on that, it basically meaning it will repeat. So we're going to click on recurring, and it says the recurrence is daily, weekly, monthly, or no fixed time. So in this case, we want it to be weekly because it's going to happen every Monday on a weekly basis. So if I click on weekly, that means that it will repeat every week on Mondays. Now, if you wanted to repeat every Monday and Tuesday, I could click on Tuesday as well, and it will repeat every Monday and Tuesday. But in this case, I only want it Monday. You could play with these settings in order to find the exact time of your class and how often you want it to repeat. The other option, because I'm assuming you're only having one student, one Zoom meeting at a time, is basically say, let's say that this is Jordan's classroom, and then have this be a recurring meeting with no fixed time, which means there'll be no dates, no times, and you'll just have this for all your students as your classroom, and it will have the same Zoom meeting ID. The only benefit of having those kind of time slots is that Zoom kind of makes a kind of a calendar for you, and it will show you, your appointments on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if you make individual Zoom meetings. So if that's something you want, you could do that as well. But if you just want to have that one Zoom link, that one meeting ID, you could just call it Jordan's Classroom or however you want to call it, and all your students can join this Zoom meeting. And that's by clicking on recurring meeting with no fixed time. And that way it will repeat for however long. And you could start the meeting a year from now or however you want to do it. Now, all this other information is irrelevant. Meeting password, I like to keep it off because I'm working with seniors and I like to make it as specific as possible, not too many steps. But if that's something you want, you click on require password and you could type in it's a 6-digit number. Some people like that for security, but I keep it off on my meetings. That's really up to you. Now this is important. Both of these should be on. video host should be on and video participant should be on. The reason why is because what that means is that when I first come into a meeting, let's say I have a meeting, when I first come in, my video will automatically be turned on, and I have to physically click video off to turn it off. There's a disadvantage of joining a meeting with your video off and then having to turn it on, because people might, want to leave it off or however it is. So it's nice to see the face, at least for a second. I always keep both the host and participant video on, but that means that I still have the ability to change that throughout the meeting. But the first appearance is always going to be on, and I like that. Same thing with audio. You should have both. A lot of these I think are default, so you won't have to change all of this. The only really important thing is choosing a nice topic title and figuring out these dates and making sure it's either recurring or some sort of weekly time. This is all kind of add-ons. Let me see if there's anything else important. As you first came into this meeting, I think you guys saw it said like, please wait, the meeting host will let you in soon. I think most of you saw that because there was a waiting room enabled and you were kind of sitting there. That's something that you could also enable in your Zoom meetings just by clicking on this button that says enable waiting room. And what that means is that when the student comes in, you'll get a beep in your Zoom meeting. I'm going to show you this in a second. That will say, Jordan is trying to enter your Zoom meeting, and you can click admit or remove. That's something you can click on just by clicking on enable waiting room, just by checking that off, that box over there. Now that's it. You want to make sure you click on this blue save button after you're done. And then basically, if you go to meetings, you see I now have a second meeting that's called Jordan's Classroom. And it says recurring, meaning it's happening over and over again, and it's there. And that means that the meeting was created, and that's the first step of kind of having starting a Zoom meeting. Now, before we actually get into Zoom, there are a few other things I want to mention on this website. I'm going to skip over webinars and recordings. I'm going to go in now to settings. A lot of this is important. So if I go to settings here, I'm going to go to okay, so you might have to scroll down a little bit in order to get to chat. Let me see how far down it is. You have to scroll down. A lot of this stuff is kind of really specific settings that you don't really have to worry about. But you want to make sure chat's on, because that's always something that's nice to have. Chat is the ability to write and add comments during the session without actually interrupting the teacher. So if you have this turned off, your student won't be able to actually type. So if you're in the middle of a class and your student has 10 questions and they want to type them into the chat, they have the ability to do that as long as it's turned on. So you want to make sure that your chat's turned on. Now, if we keep scrolling, I'm trying to show you what in the settings is important. Also polling, which I'm going to show you how to do, is really, really cool. And that's something that I'm sure many of you have not heard of. And Zoom actually allows you to throw out like a pop-up question that will appear on your student's screen, and it will ask a question and they'll be able to select an answer. That's something that I'm going to show you as well. Make sure you turn that on. The reason why we're turning all this stuff on is just so we have the option to use this stuff later. If it's off, you'll never see it. You won't see it. So you want to make sure it's there just so you have it. So that's polls. Screen sharing, of course, you want to have on, or else, as you can see right now, you're all looking at my own computer screen. This is my mouse moving. So you want to make sure that your screen share is turned on. It says who could share, host only, or all participants. If for example, there is a case where if you assign your students, it's like a homework sheet for the week, and you want them to share their screen so you can see their work, you might also want to give them the opportunity to screen share. So you can click on all participants if you want everyone in the meeting to be able to screen share. The default in this case is host only, but you could also click on all participants so everyone has the ability to screen share. Now next is annotation, which is the ability for students and teachers to write on a computer screen, add notes, add comments, add pictures, add kind of tap-ons on the text. As you can see right now, I'm now drawing my nice picture, and you want to make sure that's also turned on. Next is Whiteboard, which is, as you can see, I'm kind of covering all the main topics that once we get into Zoom, I'm going to show you how to use all this. I just want to make sure these are all turned on for you, or else you will never see them on your Zoom panel. So the whiteboard is the ability to have a blank white screen. There's my whiteboard. I think you can see it right now. So here's my whiteboard. I'm going to show you how to get to that. soon. But you want to make sure that that's also turned on. Okay, remote control. This is probably one of my favorite features on Zoom, and you basically can give you can give someone else in the Zoom meeting the power to manually control your mouse, control your screen. So if let's say you're working on a Google Doc with your student, you're working on an essay, whatever it is, you both could type at the same time on the same screen. And this is really cool. So you want to make sure that this is turned on. I'm going to show you how to access this later on. And we're going to keep scrolling. A lot of the stuff you can see is just like report participants. This is kind of irrelevant to you, so I'm trying to stay away from it. Next is Breakout Room. I'm not going to say what that is yet, but please turn that on because we're going to look at that as well. Keep scrolling. Okay, virtual background is a way to have a nice picture or whatever behind you. That's something that you could turn on just for customization, not relevant, but you could turn that on so they have the ability to actually do that. And then last thing I have is no, I think that's it. Okay, so that's it for settings. So before you start your first Zoom meeting, you should go to zoom.us and you should click on settings. You should go through these settings, right? It's over here. And you should check off these short things. I'll actually send this presentation afterwards. I actually listed everything for you here. All the stuff that I should turn on, I'll send this afterwards. If you weren't writing this stuff down, this is the stuff that you should turn on. Even if you're not going to use polling, for example, you should have it on so you have the ability at some point to actually use it. So you want to make sure that all this stuff is turned on. All this stuff is found in my settings. You might have to scroll down a little bit because there are a bunch of irrelevant ones, but you'll find them somewhere on the list. And then we also discuss meetings, about how to schedule a meeting and how to change a profile picture. So that's everything I'm going to cover on the zoom.us website. And now we're going to get into Zoom. I see one person has a chat. Actually, maybe. Okay, great. A nice comment about a chat. Are there? Oh, there's 2 people in the waiting room. Let's admit these. There we go. Okay. Is this a good time to take questions, or should I move on? Are there any questions on maybe if I see 1 or 2 on the on this Zoom website before we actually get into Zoom? Or someone commented, regarding passwords, any problems with Zoom bombing without a password? Okay, so well, I've taken school over Zoom for the past few months, and in the earlier stages, there were times where people would join in on the Zoom meetings that weren't meant to be there. I think Zoom has done a lot to actually improve their security and all that. Usually, if you don't share your meeting ID with anyone besides the 1 or 2 people that you want in the Zoom meeting, you should be fine with that. I don't have passwords on my Zoom meetings to make it easier. Meaning adding a password is an extra step, an extra number that you have to know to type in. You're more than welcome to, I showed you where it is to click on add a password in the actual Zoom meeting. That's totally optional and not required. I think Zoom is getting better at their security. Someone asked, but so the password is really up to you. All right, are there any more questions? Oh, I see in the chat. If I already have PMI, can I have a second one? I'm going to say yes. You could have a second one. I think so. But I have to check on that. I'll let you know. Okay, let's now go back in here. And I want to move on to the good stuff, which is actually getting into Zoom. So a few of these slides I'm going to have kind of a side-by-side with a phone screen or a tablet screen, just in case you're using that device as well. But it's very, very similar. Just looks a little bit different. As you can see, like these 4 buttons or these 4 at the top. It's very similar, but I'm going to mention these here. So we just had everything up on the Zoom website, but you also have to have the Zoom app, which is the way that you could join. You all, I'm assuming, have it right now, or else you wouldn't be on the Zoom meeting. So you must have this Zoom kind of account. the app downloaded on your computer, your tablet, whichever device you're planning on using, so that you could access Zoom meetings. So once you open Zoom, you're going to see something that looks like this, depending on whether your computer, which is the left side, and a phone or tablet on the right side. You're going to see 4 buttons: an orange one that says New Meeting, a blue one that says Join, a blue one that says Schedule, and a blue one that says Share Screen. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now that share screen you're never ever going to have to use, because share screen you're going to use once you're in the Zoom meeting. You're never going to use that before you get in. That's something that I don't think is relevant to you. Also, all the meetings that you're having, you'll be scheduling in that Zoom app. So I don't think you'll be doing that here. I think you'll be going to zoom.us and making sure all your meetings are scheduled before you actually get into this. So the only thing I think is relevant here is this join button, which is how you join a Zoom meeting, how you did it today. By clicking on New Meeting, it will basically open up a random meeting with a random meeting ID, and you could share that information with people in order to join. That's kind of a meeting on the fly. If you're having a meeting 2 weeks from now that you know about now, you should do that scheduling process and choose the date and all that. And you could also do that in the app. You see there's a button at the bottom that says schedule. You could also do that here, that schedule a meeting, choose the recurring meeting, all that. You could also do that here. I recommend doing all the scheduling, all the prep work in the zoom.us website, and only using this if you have like a meeting on the fly. Let's say, let's meet in 5 minutes, and you could just click on that orange button and it will start the meeting automatically. But for scheduling meetings, for having like kind of a weekly schedule, you should be using that zoom.us website in order to schedule those meetings. On the phone, it looks the same way, these 4 buttons, and you want to click on that join button in order to actually start joining a meeting. Now, I'm sure you know this. There are 2 ways to join a Zoom meeting: one through the meeting ID, which is that 9 or 10 digit code, and through a link. Next slide. So when you're joining through a meeting ID, you basically have to type in it's usually a 9 or 10 digit code that you'll receive in some sort of email or message. I think you all got the meeting ID for this morning or maybe a few days ago. And you basically type it in where it says meeting ID. And you see this directly after you click on this join button. So you want to start by clicking on join, and then you'll type in your 9 or 10 digit code. It will also ask you to type in a name. The only thing I can think of, this name is going to be the same name that you put in your profile, meaning when you first sign into Zoom, it will say what's your name and all that, and you'll type that in. The only time you would ever have to change it, I think, is, I'm not sure how they do it at H.U.G, but like in school, some teachers have, Mr. Mittler as opposed to Jorn Mittler. So they would change it when they're meeting with a student as opposed to when they're meeting with a teacher, when they can have their first name or whatever it is. So you have the ability to change your name upon entry to a meeting, but this name won't stick forever, just for this meeting. As you join the Zoom meeting, you type in the meeting ID, you have the ability to change your name just for that meeting right there. Now these 2 options you usually don't want to worry about. Do not connect me to audio. Usually you want to connect to audio, so you should leave that alone. And turn off my video. You usually want your video on, so you should leave those 2 alone. You want to type in your meeting ID and your name, and you can see on the phone it's the same thing: meeting ID, and then your name, and then you click on join. Both the blue join meetings. Now, if in case there is a password, you'll get a pop-up that says enter meeting password, and you'll just type that in. So this is kind of an extra step that you'll see if the host of the meeting did turn on password, and they should send this information with the meeting ID and with the link. They should send password : and give that to you. And this will basically come up automatically as soon as you click on join, and you'll just type it in and then click on join meeting. Now, occasionally it will come up. It will say join with video or join with audio. Now I showed you in settings that you could turn on the setting to have video on from the beginning, and you have to turn it off manually. Some hosts don't do that. So it will give you the option to join with video or join without video. And the last thing is, if the host has turned on a waiting room, it will say, please wait, the meeting host will let you in, and then the host has to click on accept. This is all something that they have to do, meaning if you're put in a waiting room, there's nothing else you could do until you get into the meeting. So you just have to sit there and wait until the host clicks on accept and admits you into the waiting room, into the actual Zoom meeting. That's joining a meeting using the meeting ID, meaning as soon as they admit you into the waiting room, then as soon as they admit you from the waiting room into the actual meeting, then you're in the meeting. So that's it. Now, joining a meeting using a link is basically much simpler, and it's by clicking on the link, and it will fill in the meeting ID, it will fill in the password. You can see it says PWD, that stands for password. Oops. And also the meeting ID is already encrypted into the message. Here's the 722. See, there it is. So just by clicking on the link, it will take you into the meeting without any other kind of pop-ups. So it's much quicker. But the reason why some people would use the meeting ID is if, let's say I text on my phone, I send a WhatsApp chat to my friend, join the meeting ID, join the Zoom. If I want to join on my computer, the link's on my phone. So I can't, if I click on it, it will join on my phone. If I could email it to myself, or I could just type in that meeting ID on the computer, which I think is the easiest way. So what I would say is that if you're on the device and you have a link, click on the link. If you're on another device and you want to join on some other device, you should type in that meeting ID, and you see this person included the password, which is what you're supposed to do. Okay. Now, so that was joining a meeting. Now that's assuming that you're not the host. I'm assuming that someone else is the host and they set up all the settings and all that. Now, the important part is if you're the host, because that's typically what's going to be the case. And once again, you could either click on new meeting, and if you want to have kind of a rushed meeting or something that's not fully scheduled. So if you have some sort of maybe you want to meet with your student for 10 minutes after whatever it is, you could just click on new meeting to start a meeting without controlling all the settings and all that. Or you could click on schedule to have to schedule a meeting now for 2 weeks from now. And like I said, you could do scheduling both in the Zoom app by clicking on this button here, or by going into the zoom.us and clicking on schedule a meeting. So by clicking on that orange button, and once you enter a Zoom meeting, you'll see at the top left, I think if you're on a computer, you should be able to see it now, a little eye in a circle all the way at the top left of the screen. And if you click on that, it will give you the information about the Zoom meeting, including the name of the meeting, the meeting ID, the host of the meeting, the invite link, and the participant ID, which is not so relevant. But this is where you can get your information. So if you start a Zoom meeting and you want to share it around, if you want to say, join my Zoom meeting, you can click on that eye and you'll find the meeting ID and the link that you could share. And they make it even easier. And there's a button that says copy link, and you don't have to type that whole thing in. You can just click on copy, and you'll be able to attach that into an email in order to send. The other option is by clicking on participants, which is that button all the way at the bottom of the screen, and then clicking on invite, which is the button at the bottom of that pop-up. And then it will ask you how you want to share the information, and it will basically do it for you. It will put in the meeting ID, the password, the link, all of that information for you. And that's by opening up participants, clicking on invite, which is at the bottom left of that pop-up, and then choosing your email service, if it's Gmail, Yahoo, or just some other email. And you can click on that and type in the emails that you want to send the information to. So these are two ways of how you could access the Zoom information. The easiest way for me is just by clicking on the eye and clicking on copy link, and then you could just attach that into some sort of email. Zoom can do it for you if you would like to by clicking on participants, invite, and then choosing your email service. Now, you should all see, not all of these because you're not all the host, but you should see some of these options at the bottom of your screen. Assuming that you turned on everything in settings that I told you, you're going to see all of this. Like you could see, for example, breakout rooms. That's something that you had to turn on in order to access it. Meaning, if you don't turn it on, it won't be there. Or chat, that's there because you turned it on. So you want to make sure that you turn all this stuff on so it's there. Now, not all this you're going to see right now just because you're not the host, but you will once you actually host a meeting. Okay, so the first thing is the most simple, which is on the left, that mute and start video. You could when you see a red line through it, that means you're muted. But when you see a red line through the video, that means they can't see you. And if you click on it, it will unmute and it will unstart and it will start your video. That's something that's pretty much click, and you could do that pretty easily. At this point, I set it on the settings that you can unmute yourself right now if you try to, because I turned on that participants can unmute themselves. So you could try as much as you want and click on unmute, but you want to mute yourself. That's something that I could show you how to turn on. And then start video. If you click that, you're all going to turn black, so don't do that. But you can click that on and off in order to hide your video and to turn it back on. These are probably the most simple options to just click and click off. Now, the next option is security. Does everyone see that? The next button to the right is security. And here are a few things that you can customize in the meeting. You could turn on and off the waiting room. Even if you turned it on in the zoom.us, you could turn it off here if you choose to. And you could also allow participants to do specific things such as share their screen, chat, rename themselves, and unmute themselves. Even if you did all the settings in the zoom.us app, which I think you should do beforehand, you have the ability to change all this even during the meeting. And just by clicking on security, this is all allowing the participants to do specific things or enabling a waiting room. So you could allow them to share their screen, chat, rename themselves, and unmute themselves. Now, the next button is participants. And the participants browser looks like this. It might not look like this for you because, once again, I'm the host in this case. The first thing is it will say one waiting and one in meeting if there's someone in the waiting room, and you can see what it looks like. It will say remove or admit. It will basically beep. Your computer will actually make some sort of sound, and you'll click on that blue button that says admit if you know them and you want to let them in. If you don't know who they are, you could also you could either remove them, and you could also click on message and send a message out into the waiting room saying, I'm not sure who you are, something like that. You could click on message and send out something like that. And it also shows you a list of who's actually in the meeting. In this case, it was just me, but it will have a whole list there. And here's the button we said before, the invite button. You can mute all here. If you have 20 people, you could just click on that and everyone will be muted. And then we're not gonna look at that. For the participants view, this is how you'll admit people into the actual meeting. And by clicking on mute all, you'll mute everyone. As soon as you click on mute all, it will change to unmute all, meaning you can go back and forth and do that. Okay, now next is the chat, and the chat looks like this. It's basically a blank tab where you could write in information either to everyone in the meeting, either to the host, or either to specific people in the Zoom meeting. If I could show you right now, let me see. So in the Zoom meeting, I have the ability to, I see a lot of people wrote in the chat. I'll take questions after this slide. I'll do that. In the chat, you have the ability to either send messages to three options to everyone, meaning every single person in the Zoom meeting will receive that message, either just to the host, meaning just myself will receive the message, or to someone else in the meeting. So you have the ability to send a message to someone else in the meeting without me seeing that message has been written. So usually in this case, you're either going to use everyone or the host. I don't think you're going to have private messages, but you could change that by clicking on, you see where it says to and everyone. If you click on that everyone, it will then give you an option that says send to host, or it will give you all the names of the people in the meeting that you can click on, and it will change everyone to that name, and you'll type your message where it says type message here, and you'll be able to send it that way. And that will all go directly here, and it will basically appear like a message conversation on your phone. As you start writing more and more and more, it will have kind of a list of messages. Now the next thing is the next thing we're going to look at is the screen share button, which the screen share I'm going to show you further, but I just want to point out where it is. It's that green button in the middle of the screen usually, and it says screen share or new share or something like that, and that's usually at the bottom in the middle. I'm going to show you how to do that on a separate slide because that involves a little more discussion. Next is record. Which is, I'm not sure if you're going to be recording your sessions, but if you click on that, you'll see two options. One's record on this computer and one's record to the cloud. Record on this computer means that after the meeting's over, it will be saved to your desktop or your download something on your physical computer. Record to the cloud means that if you have to go to zoom.us, and it will be somewhere on that website in a space called recordings. Typically, I use record on this computer, so you could access it on your computer directly afterwards. Record to the cloud is maybe if you have not too much storage left on your computer and you want to kind of put it there instead of your computer, you could do that as well. Record on this computer is the best bet if you want to record your classes. Breakout Room, something we're also going to look at on a different slide. Reactions is a quick one. If you click on that, you could show that you care about the class, and you could either have a clappy sound or a thumbs up, which will appear at the upper left hand of your screen. I think maybe it's upper right. it will appear in your box, and it kind of shows the teacher that you're paying attention and that you're there. That's by clicking on reactions. And then lastly is all the way on the right. It says end. Now, in your case right now, it says leave because you're not the host. But if you are the host, it will say end. And it will give you two options: to end meeting for all, meaning every single person will be kicked out of the meeting. And you would do this usually at the end of the meeting, or you can click on leave meeting. And if you click on that, you'll have to choose someone else. It will give you the option to choose someone else to assign the host, meaning there always has to be a host in the meeting. So if let's say there's 10 people in the meeting, you're the host, you want to leave, but they still want to talk, you could assign one of them to also be the host, and then you could leave. So you can't leave until someone else is the host, and you could do that by clicking on leave meeting and choosing someone's name to be the host. And then you could leave, or you could just end the meeting for everyone, and then that will end it for everyone. Okay, I think this is a good place to check the chat option because I think a lot are coming up. Let me see how many I could. Okay, let's see. Janine said, "Can we add links to the meeting when we schedule?" You mean the Zoom link?
No, I was hoping we might have outside links. So we might have a video clip of a book. We might have a PDF that we're going to mark up. So are we able to add our H.U.G classroom links?
So those typically you would put in the chat option, and the student would be able to click on it. Or as you send an invite and an email, you could write at the bottom, like, here's what we're going to be using for class, the book,
Yes.
colon, and then there's a link there. So you could add that there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Which method to join will be easier for the student? It appears that the link will work best. So I want to reemphasize that if you're on the device with the link and that's the device you're going to be using, use it because the link is the shortcut. So if you're on your computer and you received it as an email and you can click on it, go ahead. That's the best thing to do. If you want to join on a different device, meaning you received it on your phone and you want to join on your computer, then you might have to use the meeting ID because it's here and not there. Or you could just email yourself the link, which is another step. But in my opinion, you want to join in the link. In any case, you could. But if it's on a different device, you should use your that 9 or 10-digit meeting ID. All right, I'm going to take maybe one or two more. Okay. Okay, I think that's it for now. I'm now going to move on. Okay, great. Now we're going to look at something that I think is really cool, and I'm actually going to have you all do this as I follow because you could all do it, I think. Yes, I think you all have the ability to do this. So we're going to give this a try. Basically, as you're talking, if the students have a question, for example, they could like raise their hand so that the teacher, it basically comes up on their screen, Jordan Mittler has raised his hand. And then, you know, you could like disregard it, and now it's in your head that when you finish your sentence or when you finish whatever you're saying, you could, you know, unmute them and call on them. So there's two ways to do this. One's obviously on the phones and one's on the computer. I'm gonna do the computer because I think you're all on a computer right now. I'll mention the phone, but I think the computer is kind of the most important for this. So you want to click on participants, which is that same button we clicked on to do invite. And then you should see at the bottom right, you should see a button that says raise hands. Does everyone see that? Everyone see a raise hand button? Of that pop-up, once you click on participants, you should see at the bottom of that a button that says raise hand. Does everyone see that? I would like everyone to click on that so I can see that you all know what you're doing. A lot of hands raised. I hope that doesn't mean you all have questions. Good. Okay, I'm seeing all your hands are up, and you guys can't see what's on my screen, but it keeps coming up. Has a question, has a question, has a question. So so this is an easy way. You could lower your hands just by clicking on lower hand, but you should see that that option. And this is an easy way for the students to ask their questions and to write comments without interrupting or kind of being there and not adding different things. So this is an easy way just by clicking on participants and raise hand. On the phone, you have to click on more, which is a button at the bottom right, and then you click on raise hand. So it's one step. So let me go through that again. On the phone, you want to click on more and then raise hand. And then on the computer, you want to click on participants, and then you want to click on raise hand. That button will automatically change to lower hand as soon as your hand has been risen, and you could change it that way. And also the teacher can lower the hand themselves. So if you raise your hand, I could lower it for you. I could do that as well. Okay, so that's raising your hand on Zoom. That's something that's pretty cool. I also want to mention quickly how to do a virtual background, because this is really fun, really cool to do. Now you want to click on the arrow next to the video. You should see a little small arrow next to start or stop video. Does everyone see that? It's just a small little arrow. If you click on that, you'll see an option that says choose virtual background. Does everyone see that? If you click on the little arrow, you see choose virtual background. And then once you do that, this will come up. Zoom actually has a few kind of default ones, like the grass or the earth, whatever it is. Or you can click on the plus, which is this button over here, to add a picture. Now I just want to point out that if you should not click on I have a green screen. You want to make sure that's turned off, or else it will kind of mess with your face. So you want to make sure that the option I have a green screen is not checked off. You can go back and change that. And then on the phone, it's also similar. You click on more, you click on virtual background, and you click on the plus to add a picture. It will pull up your camera roll. I'll go back. More, which is the bottom right of the screen. Then virtual background, which is an option that will come up over here. Then you click on the plus to add some sort of picture. I will pull up your camera roll. You could choose any of them. Let's say I choose this picture here. It will now appear in your menu bar, and you can click on it to add it as a picture. So you want to click on it in your camera roll. You want to click on done. These are kind of natural steps that will take you through, and then you'll be able to click on a picture there. Typically, you're doing this on a computer, so it won't be too relevant. I'll show you. You see. Spotlight my video. Let's see. So as you can see, I'm now you could have the appearance that you're in different places. I'm now changing my different backgrounds. This one's a moving one. You can see the water's moving with me, and a nice sky that's also moving. Or you could add any sort of picture that you want, or you could just have that natural kind of just whatever's behind you, and that also works. Okay, let's go back here. Great. All right, I see one thing in the chat. My computer does not have. So if your computer doesn't say virtual background, that means that you haven't opened the zoom.us and checked that off, meaning some people might not have that because it's not turned on yet. But I showed you that in the settings icon, there's a thing that says virtual background. You'll have to check that off. You have to click it off so you have the option to actually do that. Okay. That's that. Okay, so now I'm gonna move on to screen share, which is important. I see that we have one person who's raising their hand. I guess I can. Let's see. It's Ed Flynn. Do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was doing that.
Oh, okay. That must have been from before. Okay. So screen share this is important. This is something you should take note of if you listen to anything in this Zoom meeting. This is probably the most important. You want to click on screen share at the bottom in the center of the screen. That's how you start a screen share. Now, I don't think you'll all be able to do this now, because once again, you're not the host, and if everyone's screen sharing at once, it might mess it up. So don't do this now. Kind of just follow along with what I'm doing on the screen. But you would click on that green button in the middle that says screen share. And then you're going to get these options. Now, I'm going to show you kind of what's important here. This takes a little of explaining, but this is important. So the first thing is desktop one. Does everyone see it? It says desktop one. It will automatically be highlighted in blue. It's over here, desktop one. I'll circle it. Everyone see that? Desktop one. So desktop one means that you will screen share your entire desktop, including the buttons at the bottom and all the info around it. Now, the benefit of this is that if you want to switch between tabs, you don't have to start a new share, meaning it's all on one thing. And I'll show you right now, I'm sharing my desktop one. So you see my entire screen. If I open up, let's say my calendar, you see this, and you see the presentation. You see everything at one time. So having it on desktop one means you don't have to keep clicking on new share. As soon as you click on screen share, everything on your desktop will be shared at one time, and you actually don't have to change it. Now, below desktop one, you'll see all the different tabs that you have open. I only have the Google Chrome tab with the H.U.G with Zoom tutorial, but if you have a bunch of tabs, you can click on one of them, and it will only show you that tab. And if you want to change to another tab, you'll have to do a new share. You'll have to click on you have to click on the screen share button again, and then click on another tab. So if you're going to be switching between a bunch of tabs, you should be on desktop one. And I always do desktop one because I don't know when I'm going to be switching, and it doesn't really affect me. But in the case that you only want to have one tab, you'll click on that individual tab at the bottom. Whiteboard, also the option is here, and you'll just click on Whiteboard, which is that second button there, and click on Share. After you click on any of these options, you'll click on that blue Share button at the bottom right. But you want to make sure you select the correct one. So Whiteboard is also if you want to write notes on a blank screen. And then these last two options are if you want to share information on your phone, which I don't think you'll be doing. But if you want to share your phone screen onto the computer, you'll click on iPhone or iPad via AirPlay, or if you have it plugged in, you'll do it via cable. So those are the two options there. Typically, you'll be using either the computer screen or the whiteboard. Okay. Once you start screen sharing, I'll mention one more thing. If you're showing a video or if you have audio, you want to make sure you click on Share Computer Sound at the bottom left before you screen share, or else they won't be able to hear your video. So you want to make sure that you have that clicked if you would like to share some sort of audio, movie, or music, whatever it is, and then you'll click on Share. So you should do that before you click on Share if you want to share a video. Once you start sharing, your options will change a little bit, including the button that says Annotate. You'll now see a button that says Annotate. And once you click on Annotate, here are the options that you get in order to annotate, including drawing, adding text, adding stamps, changing the color. This is basically what you see on Microsoft Word. You could change the different text formats, text basics, and you can make text look different. So you do that by clicking on Annotate, and then you could kind of write on the actual screen. So if I'm going to do an example, I'm now going to type hello in my. I just typed this using the Annotate button. I'm now drawing nice pictures. There's also stamps I could add, like a few hearts I could do. So if you're doing some sort of counting game, you could use that. I'm not sure how a lot of these are used for customization, but there are many things you could do using Annotate. I could also have a laser by clicking on Spotlight, this button over here. If you want to kind of, as you move your mouse around, you'll see a red kind of like a little dot as you move around the screen by clicking on Spotlight. You click on Eraser in order to erase what you have on the screen. And then that's pretty much it. You can kind of play around with this by clicking on the different options. But by clicking on Annotate, you'll be able to text, draw, add stamps, spotlight the screen, do a bunch of things as you're actually as you're in a screen share. You'll only be able to do this once you're in a screen share. Okay. Now, from a student's perspective, it will say you are now viewing Jordan Mittler's screen. That's what you should see all now at the top because you're a participant. It will say you're viewing Jordan Mittler's screen, I think. And next to it, you'll see a button that says View Options. And if you click on that, that's when you'll see the option to click on Remote Control, Request Remote Control. And it will come up on my screen. Whoever it is asking for permission to remotely control your application. You would then click on either deny or grant, and then the student will be able to write on your screen at one time. Here's what the whiteboard looks like. If you didn't see it before, it basically has that white screen and gives you the same annotation buttons at the tops, including text, draw, stamp, erasing, and changing the color. That's all at the top. And it's basically just a white shared screen that you could all write on and draw different pictures. When someone is in remote control of your screen, they have the ability to move your mouse at the same time that you do. So, which means that you can't work at the exact same time, but you could switch off on the same screen. So you want to make sure that when you do remote control, you're comfortable and you're fine, like passing over your computer, because it's basically someone taking over and really moving around your mouse and typing in different things on your computer. In the case of a student, usually it's because you want to type something at the same time or on the same document. Okay, let me get rid of that circle. It's bothering me. There we go. Okay, these are two important things: speaker view and gallery view. Right now, I'm screen sharing, so I think you see everyone on like the right side of the screen, kind of like a few boxes of everyone. But typically, and I'll actually go back here, so you can now see everyone. At the top right of the screen, does everyone see either where it says speaker view or gallery view? It will say one of them. So I want you to click on it. If it says speaker view, stay there. If it says gallery view, click on it. So I want everyone to be in gallery view, and it basically has every single box on the screen, across the screen, and this makes it look nicer when you're with a group of a lot of people and you can see everyone at one time. Speaker view means that whoever's speaking at the time will pop up. So in this case, it's me, but if someone asks a question, they will come up as the speaker view, and it basically has one big person and then small little people. In most cases, when you're talking, you would like to see everyone. So you want to have that gallery view where you could have the boxes and actually see everyone. Okay, so that's the difference between speaker view and gallery view. Gallery view is all the different boxes of people, and speaker view is only seeing in big the person who's currently talking, and that will change throughout the meeting depending on who's talking. Gallery view is kind of a situated screen where you can see all the different boxes. I prefer gallery view much better, so you can see everyone, and I recommend that as well. Okay, now we're actually almost we're wrapping up here. I want to there's going to be two more things. One of them is breakout rooms, and this is really cool. Breakout rooms, and I started using this a few weeks ago with my class, is the ability to divide up the members in a meeting to individual rooms with 2 or 3 people or however many you want. So usually this is typically used when you have a bigger class. So if you have, a 20-person class and you've finished your lecture and you give some sort of assignment, you could then put in groups of 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, and they'll be in their own Zoom meeting in what's called a breakout room. Now, assuming you turn this on, you'll see the option breakout rooms at the bottom of the screen where it says breakout rooms. And then this will come up, and you could choose how many rooms you want to make. So it will change the number. So in this case, when I was taking these pictures, it was only me in the meeting, so it says only one participant. But if you have 20 people, you could divide it up into 4 rooms or 5 rooms or 6, however you want to divide it, and it will tell you how many people will be in each room. If it's an odd, it will say like 2 to 3 will be in each room, whatever it is. You could do it automatically, meaning they'll do it for you. They'll reassign everything for you. Or if you have some sort of way to partner up people, you can click on manually, and you can manually assign people, and then you click on that blue Create Breakout Rooms button, and this will come up. In this case, there's only one room, breakout room 1, and it says that I'm in the room. You could after you click on create breakout rooms, the breakout rooms aren't open yet. The last thing you have to do is click on open all rooms, which is that the button at the bottom right of the screen. This is a hard example because I'm the only one in the meeting, but you'll see breakout room 1, breakout room 2, breakout room 3, and you'll see a bunch of names under each one. And you could actually move people around. Let me see if so here's what it looks like. You could rename the breakout room 1. Let's say you're doing 2 teams. You could change it to team A, or however it makes sense. You could also delete the room if you're moving people around. I'm sorry, this is a bad example just because there's only one line here. But as soon as you click on create breakout rooms, it will say breakout room 1, 2, 3, 4, and everyone's name under each one. Once you click on open all rooms, which is the button at the bottom right, it will say breakout rooms in progress on your screen. It will show you who's there. And you also will see a button that says join next to each breakout room. And you have as the host, the ability to join the breakout rooms and kind of check on your students as they're working just by clicking on that blue join button. Now, another thing that's really cool is the button at the bottom left that said broadcast a message to all. Let's say there's 5 minutes left. You can click on that and type into this pop up 5 minutes left and click on broadcast. And then everyone in their breakout rooms will see Jordan Mittler just posted 5 minutes left in all their breakout rooms. And the students, which is really cool, have the ability in their breakout rooms to click on a button that says ask for help. That's in their rooms, not something you have to worry about. In the breakout rooms, you can click on the ask for help button and it will pop up on your screen. Jordan Mittler in breakout room is asking for help, and you could join their breakout room and help them with whatever they need, or click later if you want to do it later. They'll click on that ask for help button if they have a question or need help with something. You could join their breakout rooms individually in order to help them out. So that's a brief overview with breakout rooms. Let me just see, let me look at the chat box now. So regarding screen sharing, you could have one desktop open at a time. That's if you had two desktops, it would be desktop 1, desktop 2, and you can click on one or the other. Yeah, so after let's say you use the remote control and you're done with it, then you're going to go the same place you were. Let me go back, see it here. Basically, after you click on request remote control, you'll be able to it will pop up, you grant them, and then when you want to kind of get back that power, at the top next to annotate, I can't show this to you now because I didn't take a picture of this, but next to annotate, it says remote control. And if you click on that, you can click on, it will say like remove remote control permission, and you just click on that. It's very easy. Next to annotate, it says remote control, and you could change it that way. Let's go back to where we were. Okay. Now, let me see if there were any more questions. Okay, so PDFs you can't add to a whiteboard, but you can screen share a PDF. So if you have a PDF open on your computer, instead of it being Google Chrome or whatever it is, that will come up as one of your tabs, and you could use annotate and write on that. Once you click on screen share, you'll see desktop 1, whiteboard, phone, Chrome, whatever it is. If you have some PDF open, you'll be able to open it that way by clicking on that tab. Okay, now next thing is polls. I think this is one of the last things, so we're going to wrap up soon. But polls is the option to kind of throw out a question at your students and get their responses. Unfortunately, this only works with multiple choice currently. So if there's like a yes or no question or like maybe a 4 option, that's the only way you could do it. There's no way to actually do typing. Typing you could definitely do through the chat. So you could say, everyone write in the chat the answer to this question, and you could do that. But to have a direct question, you can only do it using polls. Now, if I go back into the zoom.us website, give me 1 second. Okay, so here's where we were before. I'm going to click on my Jordan's Classroom. That's my meeting. Everyone see that? That's my meeting. And then if you scroll all the way down, you'll see an option that says polls. Everyone see that? And it says you have not created any poll yet, right? We haven't done that yet. If you want to add a poll, you click on the add button. So I got to this page by clicking on meetings, and then clicking on the meeting that I want to add a poll to. So whatever it is, I'm going to do it to Jordan's Classroom. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on add next to under poll. It says poll. You have not created any poll yet. I'm going to click on add. You want to enter a title for this poll. So let's say class review. Type my question. Did you enjoy class today? Question mark. Answer 1, yes. Answer 2, no. Answer 3, maybe. Whatever it is. And then you click on save. And the questions now, it will say poll 1 class review. It's now added into the option. And in your Zoom meeting, let's go back to this because I have it here. Right, so here's what we just did. We just typed in the question. At the bottom on your panel, you don't see this because you're not the host, but you'll see an option that says polling. Assuming you turned it on at the beginning, like we did in our settings, and you can click on polling, and then you click on launch poll. But you first have to go to the zoom.us and add that poll. You have to type in the question first, so you have something there, and then you'll be able to click on launch poll. As the poll is in progress, it will say poll in progress on your screen, and it will actually tell you the percentage of the people in the Zoom meeting that voted each option. And on the student screen, it will come up like this. And it will give them the option. They can click on any one they want and then click on submit. And once they submit it, it will appear on your screen, like the different options and the percentage of people that actually voted that option. And it will also show at the top the attendees who are viewing the question at the time. And it will automatically come up on their screen as soon as you click on that launch poll button. On everyone's screen, it will come up, what is your favorite color? And it will have those options, and it will be there automatically. And the students have to click on whichever option they want, and then click on submit, and it will appear on your screen the stats, the percentages of the students that selected the different options. Okay. So I actually just want to put up this slide I put together that has basically all the topics we covered so far. I'm now going to open it up to questions. If you would like to ask questions, if you raise your hand virtually, which I think you all now know how to do, I could call on individual people. Janine, do you know how much time I have left?
You're about 5 minutes over.
Okay.
But Christy, is it okay if he takes an additional 5 for questions? Would that be okay with you, Christy? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Thumbs up. Okay, so you have 5 more minutes for questions.
Okay. Yeah. So if you go back into Zoom.us, where it says polls, after the poll, it will then show you like results on June, whatever it is. So we're now in July, and you'll be able to see the results. Let me see. Are there any questions that? So you could either raise your hand or click on that virtual raise hand, or write in the chat. You could do any of that. Okay, I see Pat Gardner. You have a question. You have to click on unmute. As you do that, let me see. Oh, this has been so helpful. Great. I'm very happy. Okay, we see Beth. You have a question. Do you have to unmute yourself?
Yes. Can any of the information, like the polling that you get answers to, can that be downloaded somewhere else? Or is that only going to stay within the Zoom app?
So after a meeting is completed, after you've done a poll, if you go into the Zoom.us website and you go to that section that says polls, it will say poll 1, poll 2, poll 3, however many polls you have. And let's say you want the results of poll 1. You can click on poll 1 and then click on view results. And it will come up as kind of a PDF, like the question that was asked, which student selected which answer, kind of like a data sheet about the poll.
Right. And so you can save that and then have it in the future.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you take that data collection and put it into another source? Like, say, can we take that poll, that survey, and put it into our mobile app for our students? Can it be consolidated into another website?
Yeah, it will basically give you a PDF, which you could put wherever you want. You could share wherever you want.
So suppose it was an Excel sheet. Could it do that as well? Because the PDF,
yeah.
I don't know that would transfer.
So I haven't actually looked at this yet, but in the PDF, it will give you a grid, kind of a grid that says student 1 chose this, student 2 chose this. And I'm sure you could export or copy and paste into another document.
Okay, thank you. Good question, Beth.
Yeah, Pat, I knew you had a question.
I don't have a question.
Oh, okay. Let me lower hand. All right, Beth, do you have another question? No. All right, lower your hand. All right, are there any more questions? I'm also going to send this presentation to Janine, and she'll send this around. It has all the information that was covered today. Also with my email, you could all contact me if you have any further questions about anything that was covered today. I think based off today, you now have a nice overview of how to join, how to host a meeting, and how to use some meeting controls such as breakout rooms, raising your hand, using virtual backgrounds, screen sharing, using different views, all of that when you're actually in a meeting. And I'm hoping that this will benefit you and you'll be able to start hosting meetings soon. So I think there are no more questions left. So I'm going to pass it over to Christy now. But thank you, everyone, and I hope you benefited from this.
We did so much benefit from it. It was a great overview, Jordan. We really appreciate your time, and we're gonna be sending out our own survey because we didn't know about polls, but we'll share that survey with you. And I suspect, at least I do, I want to possibly run through a couple different scenarios, and maybe we can have another group meeting if you're available to help us with that.
Sure.
That would be phenomenal. We really appreciate your time. I didn't know Zoom offered as many options, so I learned a lot of stuff, so I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Will you be staying with us for Trauma Informed, or?